Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Nuts and Bolts, live and dangerous. I haven't done a live and dangerous show for a little bit. Been really enjoying the pre-recordings, but unfortunately, you would know if you were watching the weekly show last night, I was not well yesterday, so we couldn't do the pre-record. And Natty stepped in to do the weekly show with Stormy, which was amazing. But part of the reason that we do the pre-record is because Thursday nights are busy for Natty, so unfortunately she can't make it. But that's okay. We're going to jump in and just give you some highlights of some things going on, especially our World of Tanks news, because it's getting to the pointy end of the season. I think, was it season 5 for the Premier League is only got 2 rounds left, and the B League's only got 1 round left. Oh, yes, I did kind of pause there for a bit. Lucky it only goes up to 5, because otherwise I might have had to take my shoes off to count that high. But we're good. We got there. So let's jump straight in, shall we? Let's have a chat about some of the games. So let's start with the Action X versus the Matildas. So there were a couple of bright spots for the Matildas in this one, but ultimately, like, their season just hasn't clicked for them for whatever reason. I honestly thought bringing Saxon into what was the Christchurch Conquerors before it got renamed, and basically having the whole team apart from Bales back together again. This is basically the team that won the season 3 grand final. But it just, I don't know, it seems like maybe there's a little bit of hesitation. Like there was a play on Prokhorovka that we saw where they got down the 1-2 line really well, but they just kind of didn't dump in on the tanks that were sitting along the ridge, along the E-line there. So and that's kind of where the Matildas are, I feel. I feel like that they haven't been able to get that confidence going and the real playmaking abilities going. But the Action X, on the other hand, well, they've beaten the Sentinels twice this season, and their run to the finals is shaping up quite nicely. I'm touching wood, I think that they're going to fill in one of those spots to make the finals in 3rd or 4th, yet to be determined. But that's what makes this league exciting. There are 3 teams vying for that 3rd and 4th place. So it's going to be definitely exciting heading on. So the next match was my own Perth Panthers coming up against the Comets. Now, look, I'm always really excited to see the Comets play. Like, to me, they've been this bit of breath of fresh air coming into the league. They're doing things a little bit differently, and when they got promoted from the B League, there was this perceived skill gap between the B League and the Premier League. And yes, there is that skill gap there, but there's also a skill gap in the Premier League to begin with. Like the very top teams will roll the bottom teams. So I'm really glad to see the Comets come in and do really well. Unfortunately, they rolled out my Panthers on Friday night, so that was a good win for them and keeps them in that race for one of those top 4 spots as well. And Panthers is another team that's vying for one of those top 4 spots. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the rest of the season pans out for them. Hopefully, they can get a couple of wins and stick in the finals. I would very, very much like to see some strats that they pull out for that. But yeah, unfortunately, this loss against the Comets makes it very hard for the Panthers, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the ladder. But their opponents in the coming weeks, they've got Adelaide Action X coming up, and then the Scorpions as well. So it's a very hard road for them, and to secure a spot, they're pretty much going to have to win both of those. And even then, it's not guaranteed. So, it's well done to the Comets for picking up the win. And the Panthers, condolences. And hopefully we can get a little bit better in the 2 weeks that are coming. So the last game of the night, and the one that was probably going to be the most exciting for people, was the Sentinels versus the Scorpions. Now, I have to go back and check this, but for the most part, the Sentinels seem to have the wool over the Scorpions' eyes a little bit. They do seem to be able to take those wins a little bit more and just be able to rebound. It's kind of like they're almost untiltable. Because like it seems like they'll come in and they'll go, we're having fun, and they get beaten and go, cool, all right, we're going to be serious now, and then just blow everybody out of the water. But this game in particular saw the Scorpions take the tiebreaker win, so that was good for the Scorpions because it's going to let them hold on to top spot. Because really, at this point in time, it's a battle for first between the Scorpions and the Sentinels. Those two teams cannot be knocked out of first. But seeing who finishes first and second and the makeup of that is going to be very interesting. And seeing the Scorpions get that tiebreaker win, I think that gives them a little bit of an edge to prove that they can beat the Scorpions and hopefully go some way to removing a little bit of the dread, I guess. Not quite dread, but like there will be memories of the Season 4 Grand Final, which the Sentinels won 4-1 against the Scorpions. So hopefully this will give them some confidence heading into the finals. And but at this point as well, I think this is probably going to be the two teams that we see in the Grand Final. These guys are above and beyond the two best teams in the league. And seeing them play on Friday night was just absolutely amazing. So let's have a look at the results. See, I've read them out, but let's go over them again. So the Adelaide Action X beat the Matildas 3-1. The Panthers beat the Comets beat the Panthers 3-1, and the Scorpions beat the Sentinels 3-2 in the tiebreaker there. So that's some pretty cool and interesting games there. But let's check out the ladder. So this is where it gets interesting for me. So with the Scorpions on 18 points and the Sentinels on 16 points, technically with 2 wins, Adelaide Action X could jump up to equal points with the Scorpions, but I don't think that's not likely to happen. Very unlikely. Especially with some of the games in the coming weeks. So I'm not sure who they have to play in the second week, but Action X have to play Scorpions this week. And, while the Scorpions have not been, while the Panthers, have not been doing particularly well the last couple of rounds with losses to the Matildas and then the Comets, like they're still a formidable opponent, and Action X wouldn't be taking them lightly there. So, but yeah, seeing between the Action X, the Comets, and the Panthers, all those teams are vying for those 2 spots there. And like I said, it's going to be a little bit challenging to see who can make it there. But before we go on and check out this Friday's matches, tomorrow night's matches, let's check out the fantasy. So you can see here that, as is wont to happen when you play an extra game, you get extra points, obviously. So Scorpions and the Sentinel features in there in the team of the week for fantasy. JT and Russian from the Scorpions and Dell from the Sentinels. And we round that out with Action X submitting tracks and Kiwi Dynamite from the Matildas also featuring. So that's your team of the week. If you had something like that, you'd be looking pretty good with your fantasy points right now. Unlike me, who's been in the bin most of the season. One time, I will learn how to do fantasy properly and actually get. I do all right at the B League, but that's because B League's a little bit up and down with the fantasy. But we will see who is coming up for tomorrow night's matches, starting at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Are you the anti Elfish guy there, Blue Panda? For those listening on the podcast, Blue Panda is one of the casters for the ANZ Premier League, and he's just said fantasy is irrelevant. Predictions are all that matter. And I do understand that you're doing pretty well in the predictions, Blue Panda. And for those also playing along at home, Elfish Guy likes fantasy because he tends to do pretty well in fantasy until he starts doing well in predictions again, and then predictions are pretty cool again. But yes, The match, the night starts off 8 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Action X versus the Panthers. So that's going to be, I think that's going to be the game of the week for the for the ANZPL, because seeing those two teams, like Action X getting a win would go a long way to solidify. In fact, I think if they win, I don't think they can be knocked out. Let's go back and do math. Hang on. Let's do math. Back to the ladder. So I'm good. Let's do some math here. So Action X are currently sitting on 12 points. If they win, they go up to 15. And even if Comets win, they'll go up to 14. But it means Panthers stay on 9. So yes, that would mean, so an Action X win this week would mean that they cannot be knocked out of the finals. But Panthers need that win desperately to stay in touch with the finals. So both teams have something to play for, and it will be very, very good to see who comes out on top there. And then the second game of the night is the Sentinels versus the Comets. So this one's very important for the Comets because they also need wins to secure. Well, not to secure, but to keep them in touch with the finals there, because a loss against the Sentinels will put the Panthers in striking distance again. So it's going to be an interesting time for the Comets there, especially against the Sentinels. Man, these are the 3-time champions of the ANZPL. You've got to pull out something special to beat them. Maybe they should go after the Action X, who have beaten them twice this season. And the last game of the night at 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, we have the Matildas versus the Scorpions. And look, honestly, the way the Scorpions are going at the moment, they should romp that in. That should be a pretty short match. And I'm going to say that, and then Matildas were going to come out firing and take it to a tiebreaker. But those are the games for the penultimate round of the ANZPL. It's yeah, that's right. Matildas will come out of nowhere to win at Blue Panda. Oh no, that won't be good for the Panthers, because I know the Panthers because I follow them quite closely, and they have to play the Scorpions the week after, which makes so they really have to win against Action X to have any chance of making the finals. And if Matildas beat the Scorpions and then the Panthers have got to play them next week, Scorpions are not going to be happy. They're going to sting somebody, and it'll be my Panthers. So I would prefer if the Matildas could not do that, please. That would be very much appreciated. Thank you. But of course, we also have the B League going on at the moment. So let's have a look at some of those results there. So, the Archers horror season is still going. They had another 4-0 loss. They had a chance. They really did at taking a game, their first game of the season, but the Leopards just had the better of them. Unfortunately, the only New Zealand team in the ANZB League and ANZ Premier League is not doing so well at the moment. But what I am happy to see is that the Hellcats are performing. So they kind of were down the bottom of the ladder last season, but to see them coming up in the middle of the pack and competing, it's super exciting, especially against the Centurions. Centurions have got a really strong side, so being able to get that win there is quite amazing there. And finally, this was definitely the match of the round here. So if you haven't, go watch the VOD. It's still up on twitch.tv/World of Tanks ANZ. The battle between the Fremantle Fireflies, new team in the town, and also a Western Australian team. So I'm going to claim them as well. They're my team in the B League. Playing against the Bundaberg Badgers, who were on top of the ladder before this match, and also the runners-up in the Season 3 ANZBL Championship. The Fireflies won. They just had some really good strats against the Badgers, and they knew how to funnel them into a bottleneck and take out their all-on-one mentality there. Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, so because Badgers like to run in numbers, they like using trying to find the overmatch and eliminate players there, and yeah, the Fireflies just seem to have an answer for that. So that was really, really good to see. So let's take a look at the ladder. So you can see now the Fireflies are on top. Equal points as the Badgers, but with their head-to-head, it means that the Fireflies take first spot. But even, you've got two teams on 7 points and one team on 6 points with one game to go. This is going to be a very interesting round. So only one team will drop out, could drop out, but it just makes everything so exciting. And the Leopards in particular, they're a returning team, different lineups, but a returning team. Seeing them be in the mix for finals as well with one round to go, it makes it very, very exciting. So let's take a look at the last round for the ANZ B League before they go into playoffs here. We've got the Centurions against the Badgers starting at 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. I've changed the wrong letter in that. I don't know if you can know. So if you're looking at home, I've got ADST instead of AEDT. So, but that's okay. If you wouldn't have known if I didn't tell you, but I'm owning that mistake. So let's continue on there. The Hellcats coming up against the Archers, so you've got to pencil them in as a win there against the Archers at the moment. And I just hope that maybe the Archers can take a game and look a bit better than they have, because they're really I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they just haven't got the right players and they're not gelling well. I don't know, but it's unfortunate to see. But yeah, that should be a Hellcats win there. And then the last match of the night is the Leopards and the Fireflies. So the Leopards need to beat the Fireflies to stand a chance of getting into the finals there. Considering that the Hellcats and the Centurions are on 7 points, they need to leapfrog one of those to be able to get into the final. In fact, if the Leopards beat the Fireflies, then they will leapfrog the Fireflies. Surprisingly, that's how close the league is. That the team from 5th could jump the team in first before the playoffs. So that's really amazing to see. Cannot wait to check out these games. So this is on Monday nights and on World of Tanks ANZ Twitch page. The ANZPL is tomorrow night, so Friday night, starting at 8 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So that's also on twitch.tv/World of Tanks ANZ. Well, that's the World of Tanks news, but there's still a fair bit more going on. We've got a few international competitions going on at the moment, and I'm not going to go into them too in depth, but it'd be remiss of me if I didn't at least mention them. So with the League of Legends World, so that's still going on at the moment. I think they must have had a week off, because I'm pretty sure they were at this stage this time last week. So we've got the final 8 there in the quarterfinals. The first game between JD Gaming and Rogue kicks off tomorrow, and then each of the teams play one day after each other before we get the semi-finals, which is in just over a week. I'm kind of pinning my hopes on Rogue here. They're the only European team left in it. There's no North Americans, no Oceania team. So, because the rest are Korean and Chinese teams. So I kind of hope Rogue puts up a good showing. But historically, those Chinese and Korean teams are they're crazy, man. They are ridiculously crazy. And when you see like Damwon Kia, Royal Never Give Up, T1, they're just god tier teams. So good luck to all the teams involved though, and we'll hopefully have some results for you next week as well. And then heading on from there, we've got the Dota Worlds going on too. So I must admit, I'm not a big watcher of Dota, so I can't talk to this too much. It's called the International 2022, happening in Singapore at the moment. We'll be finishing up in about 10 days. So the main event with the upper bracket and lower brackets are going on at the moment. In fact, I think the next game to come up is a lower bracket final between Fnatic and Gaiman Gamers. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check that out. There's lots going on there. We've got the Halo game. Yeah, mate, the NFL, like Menthonzo in chat has just said, biggest esports comp in the world. Yeah, well, the NFL's and the World Cup for soccer is one of the biggest things in the world, but I don't watch that either. Yeah, hey, horses for courses. There's too much stuff to watch out there that we can't be across everything. As much as I would like to be, and let's face it, I don't understand League, let alone trying to get another MOBA into there. So yes, the Halo World Championships are going on at the moment as well. They're getting ready to kick off their play-ins. So they've got a play-in section that will decide the last 4 teams for the group stages, which a lot of those group stages are already filled out there. So that's kicking off with the date for that, the 20th. So that'll be probably in about 12 hours, I imagine that would kick off for Australian time. So that's 3 huge international competitions going on at the moment. If you're really into esports, check them out. There'll be places to watch. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to catch any of the League of Legends Worlds just because they're on at silly o'clock in the morning for me. But definitely, if you can, check them out if you like them. I'm sure somewhere like the GG Easy Bar or Fortress in Melbourne will be showing some stuff, and other venues and other cities as well. So get along, support them, show everybody how much you love esports. And of course, we got one more bit of news as well. So this one came across Natty's feed, actually. She shared this one with me. There is a registration for an ESL Clash of Nations for Valorant. So Valorant Championship Tournament, I'm going to guess VCT anyway. So this is a qualifier for an international event. Hang on, just let me get the information. So yeah, it's the Oceania qualifier for Clash of Nations. So if you're into Valorant, it's open. Sign up closes on the 27th of October at 4:30 apparently, which is half an hour before the event starts, which doesn't quite sound right. But anyway, so you'll be able to go into that and enter the competition, see if you can match it with the best that Oceania has to offer, and head towards a Clash of Nations event with ESL there. Amazing. Thank you for sticking with me for this short and abridged version of Nuts and Bolts. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done a live Nuts and Bolts. I hope it hasn't been too terrible. Hope I haven't stumbled over my words too much. And we will be back to pre-recording next week, so you can check it out with myself and Natty next Thursday night from 5 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time. I'm sorry I can't convert that because brain no work good with numbers at the moment. But thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next week.